Quilting designs around border corners doesn't have to be tricky. Hey everybody, it's me, Angela Walters from quiltingismytherapy.com. And in this video, I'm going to show you 3 different techniques for quilting designs around those border corners. I'm going to be using designs that we've already learned in the Feathers, Borders, Blocks, and Backgrounds Free Motion Challenge Quilting Along video series. So if you haven't already checked out those videos, be sure to watch them. Because in those videos, we already saw how to quilt these designs, but in this one, I'm going to show you how to quilt them around the corners. The 3 different techniques that we're going to be learning in this video include pivoting, changing direction, and wrapping around. And the technique you use is going to depend on the design that you're quilting. First up, pivoting. For smaller borders or more narrow designs, pivoting is going to be the best option, where we're basically using that inner border corner as a point to pivot around. Quilting our design all the way up to that corner, quilting a few that extend out into the corner, and then continuing on in the next direction. Now let me show you what that looks like with the half feather design. I'm quilting those petals in groups of 2 by quilting that line that curves out, touching the petal below, traveling back, and returning back to the side. Once I start to approach the corner of that border, I'm going to quilt the petals so that they return to that inner corner, which is going to allow me to pivot around. Once I filled in that corner, I can start quilting the petals in the next direction. And for the last corner, we're going to do the same thing, quilting those petals until I reach that inner border corner, and then quilt them so that they extend out and pivot back to that point. The idea of pivoting a design around a corner isn't just for borders. You might find it helpful when you're quilting those feathers around sections of blocks as well. Another technique for quilting the design around the corners is changing directions, where basically we ignore that corner altogether by quilting a design that goes all the way to the edge and then changing direction. This is perfect for those medium-sized borders or for designs that are a little bit more complex in how they go together. Now let me show you what that looks like using the flipped feather design that we learned in an earlier video. One thing I love to do in smaller areas like this is to incorporate a little bit of echoing. Not only does it take that bigger border and kind of shrink it down a little bit, that's a perfect way to create secondary patterns. Of course, this is totally optional, so you can leave this out, but all I'm doing is echoing one side of this area and then traveling and doing the same on the other. Once I've decided that that's enough echoing, I have my unquilted area right here in the middle to fill in. I'm going to quilt that same back and forth feather that we saw earlier. We're going to quilt it along this side and then turn the corner and move the other way. Now, as I'm quilting this design in that strip, I'm going to keep quilting it right into that border corner. Then, once I get ready to run out of room over here, I know it's time to change direction. So from this point, I'm going to quilt my line so it comes around, extends out, and begins quilting those feathers in the next direction. The trick is to try not to stress out about it and to fill in that area as much as possible. And when you're done, you'll have a beautiful feathery design that turns that corner and looks gorgeous. This technique also works with other designs such as the scooped feather design. So starting from one end of my area, I'm going to begin quilting that scooped feather. Quilting those petals so that they alternate directions and filling in that area as much as possible. Now, as I approach that corner, I'm going to continue doing everything just like I've already done. I'm quilting that design so that it really extends out into that corner. Then, once that's all filled in, I'm going to continue on quilting that line that curves around and then begin quilting that design in the next direction. And there you can see that beautiful design that starts on one side, wraps around the corner, and continues on in the next direction. Or you can try it with that half heart design that we learned earlier as well. Doing the same thing that we've already seen, quilting that design until I run out of room, and then just changing direction. For a more traditional, elegant effect, try quilting the designs so that they wrap around that border corner. When I think of quilting a design around a corner, this is what I think of. It's perfect for larger borders or more complex designs, especially when you want a framed effect around the middle of the quilt with your quilting. For this technique, I'm quilting the design so it wraps around those corners, kind of bending it in those areas. I'm going to show you what this looks like with the mini feather design, but it works great with other designs as well. So here I have my area. I'm going to quilt that mini feather that we saw earlier. And I'm going to start by quilting my spine so that it works its way towards the middle of this area. And once I reach this border corner, I'm going to turn the corner, trying to keep it towards the center. Keeping the spine towards the center of the border means that the petals will be similar on both sides. And once I get to the end, I'm going to start quilting my petals, alternating from side to side like we've already seen. Now, as I approach that border corner, I'm going to have two things happening at the same time. On this side of my feather, I'm going to have less room than normal, so these petals are going to have to kind of squish together. While on the other hand, when I work my way around this side, the petals are going to have extra room, so I'm going to really need to extend them out. Try not to overthink it. Just quilt those petals so that they fill the area as much as possible. So as you can see, these petals along the outside are a little bit bigger than the ones on the inside. It doesn't have to be perfect or precise, just get it as close as you can and move on. Then, once I turn that corner, I can just continue quilting those petals, working my way along the border. Quilting larger designs so that they wrap around the border corner creates a stunning effect on your quilts. Hopefully these techniques will make quilting the designs around border corners easier and more fun for you. So be sure to give them a try and see which one works best for you. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon with another video tutorial. Until then, everybody, happy quilting.